Hello everybody, this is Bison Crumbs and welcome back to my channel. Now today we begin my journey of catching back up to current day. This video has been recorded a couple different times throughout the months, but it keeps getting lost within my computer. So I've had to restart it a few times, and between that, motivation, and general unhappiness with the current state of my finances, it's been a little bit of a rough journey to get here today. But the general plan is going to be record a bunch of these at once and slowly release them over the course of the rest of this month, and hopefully I can get caught up by the end of it. Now, why do I do this instead of doing a fresh start like probably what I should do for 2024? Just a fresh start through YNAB where I can start off on a better foot and skip all this preamble and months I've missed. I'm doing it mostly because for me, I really like having all this history within YNAB of my financial journey and where we were, where we are now, and how we got to where we are. And it helps me be more honest with who I am and what I spend my money on to go through all this. Now, a lot of these months aren't going to be perfect. A lot of them are going to be negative, and I'm not going to take money out of places that I did not take money out during that month. So if I'm negative and I have ways of making this ready to assign 0 instead of negative, I'm not going to do that just because that's not where I took money out of in that month, and it would be dishonest to say that I did. And it would also throw off my numbers. So those are going to be the basics, and let's jump right into it. So in September of 2023, I made a total of $1,738.38. Now we're going to assign it. Goals, I didn't start goals quite yet, and I'm still trying to figure out how to exactly do them, but for now, that's just a category that's sticking there. Credit cards, we don't have to worry about, but basic living. In the month of September, I had my rent be $500. Pet rent, my half was $12.50. All these basic living categories are shared with my wife, so we go halvesies on all of these. Pest control was $250 for mine. Internet was $64.97. Electricity was $47.46. And home gas was $9.68. In the month of September was when we finally managed to move into our new home and finally get charged for some of the regular fees here. So now we have an apartment in Omaha instead of Elkhorn, which is kind of the outskirts of Omaha and technically considered part of it, but they also want to be separate. But now we're in closer to the middle of Omaha, and we're trying to get a bigger space for the same price we're paying out in Elkhorn. We managed to sort of do that. The only problem is there was a lot more fees that are not paid for in this apartment that were paid for in the last apartment, just included in the rent. So this has been a real journey of learning kind of what those are and how that works, and that moving is not always financially beneficial, especially when just looking at the numbers that they give you. The reality can be a lot different. But in this month, a lot of those fees were waived, just applied into the next month. So we'll see those pop up again here soon. We won't go into too much detail for this month. Monthly subscriptions. I did not cancel Canva Pro in time, so $16.03 was charged to that. I was trying it out and it didn't really do much for me, especially with my lull in content creation. I usually use it just to make thumbnails, but it didn't serve me very well, so I canceled that pretty fast. Phone bill, pay $35 for my part in our collective phone bill. I just pay with my family. And these are categories that we no longer have, so we can just hide those. I don't tend to delete things, I just like hiding them so that they are there for the future. And I don't remember what else I need to have hidden, so we'll just keep these up for now. Well, I guess there's that. Once we get to the current month, I will definitely start hiding a lot more of these, other than the ones I remember already. Where I'm like, oh, these ones are gone. Spotify I haven't paid for in years. So we got our two streaming categories, which are Hulu and Disney Plus. Those are $21.39. And then YouTube Premium, It's $14.97. For my debts, I'm still indebted to my parents who paid off my Ford Escape, and now I'm just paying them back with no interest. So that's $184 a month. And then Dooney and the wife, it's going to be $340. I missed the last month, so I was double charged for this month. This was the cost of my cat going to the vet and also a collective present and photo that me and my wife went in on together. I just had to pay her back monthly until it was paid off within a year. So by the end of 2023, this got paid off, but I accidentally missed the date for August and I double paid in September. So now moving on to yearly subscriptions, we got renter's insurance. That was $13. In an attempt to resell, this is where I sell stuff on eBay, and the item that sells minus the cost of actually shipping it out just combine into this little category, and what's left over at the end of the month, I just take as pure profit or split it with whoever I'm selling stuff for, because I also sell stuff for my parents and my wife, and sometimes my brother even, but that is minus 1663 to make that even. And then YouTube, I keep spending on my second channel here. I haven't done much, which has been really demoralizing, I guess you could say. I've really got to focus and actually do stuff with this channel if I'm going to continue putting money into it. But for September, we put $12.51 in there. And art commissions, we're actually just going to minus that out right now. That 408 I know we're not going to use, or I'm not going to be able to afford for quite a while. Alright, so in the month of September for everyday spending, we had gas, and that was 127.23. Sweet Stop, these are just little stops where we buy candy and stuff like that. For this month, usually Sweet Stop is just general candy that we buy at gas stations and stuff to hold us over. This month was a little bit different and I believe a little bit higher. We can check that over here actually. Average spend is usually 27. Last month was a little bit less at 22. And this month it's 36. And that was just because it was my birthday and I think I spent a few different places that I probably could have gone without, but a little bit of treating myself there. Haircut was $32. Clothing was $95.87. This was the month where I began buying a bunch of hats for myself, and I kind of learned that I definitely get caught up in certain little trends within myself. So I'll have a moment where I really like beanies, a moment where I really like hats, and I'll just buy a bunch at once. Luckily, I had my wife around me at the time where she kind of mentioned that you're kind of buying a lot of hats. Do you really need all these? And it made me realize that I really do get in these little buying habits and I cut myself off pretty early. I did manage to spend $95, which isn't as early as I probably could have. I think I bought an extra hat after that one, but it is definitely worth realizing in these reviews kind of your own little habits and how you can kind of curb them or work to your benefit with them. So it's really good to realize these habits and watch yourself so that you know your spending habits and how to adjust for them. In the future, I should be saving up money in clothing to actually buy these kinds of things with money I already have, but for now, it's just looking at the expenses that we've already accumulated. And then surprise merch was $53.19. Surprise merch is just a general category for just these limited time things where I've just got to buy it right now or it's going to be sold out. This month was an artist that I bought a shirt and a couple other things from, and so that was $53.19. I try to keep that spending to a minimum. I believe the average assigned is $25. So for most months it goes unused, but every so often it's like $50. I guess last month I also spent $30. And yeah, the last month was a charity shirt through a video game company. And after surprise merch, we end up with $140.70. So when we move down to food, groceries was $177.09, which puts us in the negative by $34.39 already. I guess let's find out how negative we went. Fast food solo, this is just spending for myself. And then fast food for two, me and my wife ended up going out a bunch for my birthday month and kind of went back and forth, but this is a higher amount than normal. There was an event at the end of this month, which accounted for quite a bit of it as well. But in general, I was just overspending for getting us food in general this month. Soda pop and energy drink. I think I just bought a couple energy drinks on the road. But after food, we end up with negative $317.27. Continuing on. So this was that event. We spent $20.94 on event food. Comic books. At that event, I also bought a comic book for $10. And then self-improvement, family outing. Me and my brother went out we were going to go to a concert and we went to a small Mexican restaurant beforehand. It was very interesting. It was kind of a like diner setup to the place. Just imagine like a Village Inn, but for Mexican food. So that was very interesting. We ended up going to the concert and then the concert was canceled. So I believe I got a refund for that and it won't show up on here since it just went right back into that. We spent about $40 there and then I spent about $12 on. We went out as a family for our general birthdays and doing just something on the side. Friend outing. I went out with some coworkers this month just to a little eatery around our work. That was $35.84. All these IRAs can be hidden since they have no relevance in the current year. But for Roth 2023, all this money was set on the side in one of my accounts, and I did not touch it in this month, so it's going to stay right there. All right, and then the Treasury, so untouchable credit union, that's money that just is stuck in the credit union, but I'll get back if I ever close that account. This number has to stay there just to make my number with the budget or with the account stay even. But we have $231 in there, and that's just general savings for 6 months of rent. Rainy day, we didn't put anything in there. Wedding for the honeymoon, that's my wife putting money into our joint savings account. In plans for an eventual second honeymoon that she actually wants, instead of the brief adventure we went on together right after our wedding, we ended up going to Las Vegas for a 3-day concert event, and it ended up being okay, but not her favorite. So she definitely wants a more vacation-y honeymoon than this pre-planned event. Farmers market slash groceries, we spent $73.97, and during the fall, this category definitely gets used a lot more. Travel events, $6, and vacation destination. This is a set percent of money I have coming out of my paycheck to go into that same joint savings account. We're basically saving for the same thing, but I'm keeping them separate for now, just to know what money she's putting in versus what I'm putting in, but that is that. Video games, I did end up spending $32.09 on an Xbox game, and that was a lucky find at Goodwill, where it's a very rare game in general. It can only be found on a physical disc, and it was in good condition for a pretty cheap price. So I try to avoid going to Goodwill just in case I do see these deals, but my wife actually bought the sequel for my birthday. But for the month of September, we also did a dinner date. That was $79.54. And then extra love is just extra stuff I buy for my wife or give her money for. But that was $46.89. And then we move on to gifting. Two of my nieces were basically born close to September, so they end up sharing a birthday in September. And so we split the cost of those evenly between the two. We bought a bunch of clothes for them. And that was $56.93 and $56.92. So for our new apartment, we needed a whole new set of like a modem. We were able to keep the router, but then we needed a bunch of cords for the internet as well. Just because we were in a faster internet area, we needed new equipment to fully utilize what we're paying for. So in total, that was $150.41. And appliances, we spent $8.99. And that was also in the same trip for the internet stuff. It was just other little appliances. Meal roundup, I don't touch. But then charity, $25.88. Every September is the Omaha Walk Out of Darkness, which is a suicide awareness and prevention walk. So every year, me and my wife go to that, and I'll tend to donate money. Miscellaneous, wife payback was $17.29. We went halvesies on something where I had to give her the money back. And then paying back in general was $25.62. This was money spent on my mom, who asked me to actually go to that Goodwill where I found the video games and buy her some cords for her work. So I ended up buying those for her, and she was going to pay me back. It just ended up in the next month. But then account verify. So we're going to take the 6 cents out of there. We had to verify an account for this new apartment. They never took the money out, but at the end of this month, it was pretty apparent that they didn't seem to want it back, since it would have been done in August when we actually got it. So I guess we got a free 6 cents. But then interest and fees were hit pretty hard with those. So that was $62.15. Half of the fees were the newest apartment. I tried using a debit card, but they count debit cards and credit cards as the same at this location, which is different than my last apartment, where they would charge just a flat $2 for any debit card fees for any debit card use, versus credit card would be the exponential rate. But at this apartment, they counted the same. So we ended up spending $30 on that. And then the other half was a late fee for one of my credit cards. With all the moving around and expenses up front for the apartment, I was unable to pay for the credit card that comes out the latest in the month. So we ended up behind on that. With all that said, we've hit the bottom of our month of September. So in the month of September, I didn't move any money around to account for this. We ended up in the negative with $1,077.72. With nothing moved around, it just stays at that number, and we have to move on to the next month. So for the end of this video, I just want to say thank you all for being here. It's been a long couple of months, and obviously I have not posted any content within that time. So it's been a long time coming. I'm working to be better. So I guess with all that said, thank you all. This has been a bison's journey of making crumbs on the prairie, and I hope you guys have a good one. And I'll see you in the next one. Bye now.